Hi everyone, today on KREM 2 News at noon, it is the largest shift in Idaho's vaccine rollout to come yet, and we do have the latest news from Idaho's governor on who can receive a vaccine in just a matter of days. Plus, a local doctor is accused of pushing his patients into more expensive surgeries for his own financial gain. We hear from one of his patients coming up today. And today is Equal Pay Day. We take a closer look at the gender pay gap and tell you who is raising their voices today to help close that gap.
And it's a pretty crummy day weather-wise, as we'll be tracking the rain, wind, snow, and perhaps even grapple through the afternoon hours.
Thomas Patrick out there. We'll be joining him in a moment. Welcome to KREM 2 News at noon. It has been a wild week of weather so far, and we're just in the middle of the week, and it does include today as well. So we sent Thomas Patrick outside to what's been the very wet outdoor weather center so he can explain and really get in the mood, into the thick of things, and let us know what to expect today.
Listen here, Laura. I love being out here no matter what kind of weather. I mean, I remember the first time it snowed in our outdoor set, and I was loving it. I was asked if I need an umbrella, but honestly, with the wind, nah, you could probably just forget it. The winds are picking up just a little bit, but aside from a couple snowflakes from a couple hours ago, all that's pretty much transitioned to rain as of the noon hour. Here you can take a live look at Doppler radar over the core of the Spokane area. It's pretty much just rain everywhere. Higher elevations like towards Mount Spokane, still seeing snow on the mountaintops, as well as some of the mountain passes as well. I would be careful over 4th of July pass, as that's right around that elevation where we're starting to see that rain-snow split, but it looks like it's raining over the downtown Coeur d'Alene area as well. You can see on our live downtown camera here that you can see a little bit of the raindrops in the camera there. 39 degrees. It actually cooled down just a couple degrees from last hour as the rain is cooling off the atmosphere, but we should be just warm enough to stay as rain, albeit a cold rain through the afternoon hours. But I would not be surprised to see maybe a few snowflakes, maybe a little bit of grapple try to mix in, but that's not going to be the key for today's forecast. It's mainly going to be rain, which is what we're experiencing right now. Temperatures largely in the 40s unless you're out in central Washington, or you're lucky enough to be in the 50s, or even about 60 degrees in Moses Lake, where it is not expected to rain today. But this is easily the coldest day of our upcoming forecast. We will warm up to a lot more 50s and even 60s for the upcoming weekend. So we'll have a look at your full weekend forecast in just a few minutes' time.
All right, my friend, thank you. This is coming in new at noon today. Idaho Governor Brad Little has accelerated the state's vaccine eligibility timeline and done so dramatically, saying today that all Idahoans, regardless of age or occupation, will be eligible to receive a COVID-19 vaccine on Monday, April 5th. That's 3 weeks ahead of the original timeline scheduled. Little also announced that starting next Monday, March 29th, all people in Idaho with one pre-existing medical condition will become eligible to receive their own dose of the vaccine. And that is 2 weeks ahead of the schedule change. You can find this story on KREM.com for information on how you can register and get in line to get a vaccine. All right, today the suspect in the Boulder, Colorado mass shooting is facing 10 counts of first-degree murder. He is expected to appear in court coming up tomorrow. But here at noon, we do want to take a moment to focus on and to pay our respects to the victims. So take a moment to look at your screen. Boulder police have released the names of the 10 victims who range from ages 20 to 65 years old. They include victims like Denny Stong, who was the youngest victim there at the shooting, and 61-year-old Kevin Mahoney, who had a granddaughter on the way. So again, the list has been released of the names of those killed in the shooting. The Colorado shooting happened less than a week after a gunman killed 8 people in Atlanta. So total over the past week, there have been at least 10 mass shootings in total across the country. Now, mass shooting is defined as a single incident involving the shooting of a firearm to more than 2 people, especially when the victims are random. President Biden is calling on Congress to reinstitute a ban on assault weapons and large capacity magazines. Earlier this month, House Democrats passed 2 bills expanding background checks. But during a Senate committee hearing about guns on Tuesday, Republicans showed they very clearly disagreed with the way the current discussion is headed.
There was law for the longest time, and it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again.
And every time there's a shooting, we play this ridiculous theater where this committee gets together and proposes a bunch of laws that would do nothing to stop these murders.
Today, the flag at the White House is lowered to half-staff once again in honor of the Boulder victims. That move happened just hours after it had been raised following last week's Atlanta shootings. Flags have also been lowered at the Washington Capitol in Olympia. The jury is now seated for the upcoming trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd. The jury was seated on Tuesday, and it's made up of 2 white men, 3 black men, 1 black woman, and 2 multiracial women, and 6 white women. They will decide if Chauvin committed a crime when he restrained Floyd during an arrest last year, which then led to Floyd's death. Chauvin also faces a 3rd-degree murder charge, which means causing someone's death by perpetuating an act that is considered eminently dangerous without regard for human life. We expect opening statements in the trial to begin coming up on Monday. And Washington state health officials have stripped Dr. Jason Dreyer of his surgical privileges. The osteopathic surgeon is currently employed at Multicare in Spokane and can still see patients. Dr. Dreyer is accused of pushing for extensive and unnecessary spine surgeries on patients for financial gain. He cannot perform surgery until those charges have been resolved. A former patient, Oz Allwater, is a senior at Whitworth University. Dr. Dreyer treated him for a weightlifting injury back in September after the senior was diagnosed with a pinched nerve. Allwater says he wanted to avoid surgery and asked for alternatives, say like injecting steroids into his back. But he tells KREM 2 that Dr. Dreyer pushed for options that would allow for the surgery.
But I do remember him, he was very optimistic about that surgery. He was kind of excited talking about it.
So Allwater says he ended up agreeing to a discectomy to remove the damaged portion of his herniated disc, a surgery that was less invasive than the fusion that Dr. Dreyer had proposed. But a week following that surgery, Allwater says his pain returned and then persisted for months. KREM is still waiting on a response to our request for an interview with Dr. Dreyer, and you can read more about the investigation in total. More information on KREM.com. The Washington State Senate could vote to ease access to Washington's Death with Dignity law. The law allows some terminally ill patients to get a lethal dose of medication from a physician. The Senate is looking at a measure that would shorten some wait periods for those requests, a measure that's already been passed onto the House. Now, if passed, the measure would allow also some experts who are not physicians to sign off on at least some requests. Medications could also be delivered by mail. Supporters say that by removing the barriers, they will ease suffering, but opponents say it really gets rid of safeguards that are surrounding assisted suicide. And police across the state say they are worried that a proposed state law could put their officers at risk. Legislators are debating a bill that would prohibit law enforcement agencies from acquiring retired military equipment. 30 agencies across the state have MRAPs, which are mine-resistant and ambush-protected vehicles, which the military donates to the police departments. Now, if the proposed bill passes, police departments would have to return these vehicles to the Army. Critics say there is no need for equipment designed for war zones to be used in American neighborhoods. But police chiefs and local sheriffs say they are simply life-saving.
And I also recognize the sensitivity of military equipment with law enforcement. This piece of equipment, though, is in my opinion, a necessity to safeguard our officers and deputies who need that type of protection in certain situations.
The Aberdeen police chief says they use these vehicles about 6 times a year, typically on hostage situations or when trying to arrest people who have weapons. All right, it is 12:09 right now. Still to come right here on KREM 2 News at noon. There was a soccer superstar out there set to testify today about the gap in pay between men and women. We'll connect the dots coming up on the situation and how it's changed after a year in the pandemic. Oh, I love this. We'll introduce you to the newest member of a truly unique security team at Providence Healthcare. You'll meet Rocco coming up right after the break.